do you personally have any regrets? Do you feel like everyone has something that they regret? And then how do you go about moving past it?
Right. Thank you for that great question. So I have a whole chapter on regret. And the way that I started the chapter is by citing, as sort of the organizing framework, the work of one of my former psychology professors in my PhD. His name is Thomas Gilovich, and he pioneered the psychology of regret by looking at the two fundamental sources of regret: regret due to action and regret due to inaction. So regret due to action would be, I regret that I cheated on my wife and that brought the end of our family and our marriage. Regret due to inaction, I regret that I never pursued my artistic interests and I became a pediatrician. Well, it turns out, Candace, that over the long run, the greatest looming regret that people have are typically those of inaction, right? And so, I wish I would have done this. So the road that was not traveled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm 85 and I'm looking back and I say, I wish that I had, become a NBA player. Well, there's nothing that I can do to fix that regret because I'm too old and too short to have ever been an NBA player. But as an optimistic bent on this, difficult issue, there are many forms of regret that even late in life we can do something about. And I give several such examples, which I'll share with you now, and then I'll answer your question about my own personal regrets. So I give two examples in the book of regrets that were alleviated very, very late in life by two separate individuals. So story one, this gentleman who graduated with a PhD at my university, where I'm currently a professor. So this was in the mid-90s, whether he finished his PhD. But he was an individual who left Germany prior to the start of World War II as a young person, moved to Canada, and just life circumstances did not allow him to pursue his education. He'd always wanted to go to university and so on. Fast forward several decades, he's now retired. He's in his 60s, and he says, look, I'm young enough at this point, still young enough. I still have vigor. Why don't I now go back and get my undergraduate? He's in his 60s, right? The average student is 20. And so he goes to my university, gets an undergraduate degree, finishes, I don't remember the exact age, but in his 70s. He says, well, hey, look, I still got vigor. I'm still, ready to go. Pursues a master's, completes his master's. Now he's in his 80s. And then I remember, I think it was in 1996 in the university newspaper, the cover, on the cover of the newspaper was finally a doctor at 91, I think it was 92. And at the time, I think he was maybe the oldest recipient of a PhD in Canada or something to that effect. Within a year, he passes away. Now, talk about purity. That person did not pursue his PhD because he was going to go on the academic job market. He did it for the most of pure reasons, which is just the sheer love of knowledge, right? Sophia, love of knowledge. So that's story one. Story two, I actually had this gentleman on my show last year, Manfred Steiner. He got his MD, medical degree, in 1955, I think. He had gone into medicine because his parents had said, no, you have to do something practical, something respectable. His love was physics, but physics, well, that's not a practical thing. And so he became a physician. Then he specialized in hematology, picked up along the way in 1967 a PhD in biochemistry, had a full career as a medical specialist, and then in his 80s decided that he wanted to instantiate the pursuit of his original love in physics, started getting a degree in physics, finished with a PhD in physics at Brown University at the age of 89. So now imagine these two stories I just told you, Candace. When a student comes into my office during office hours and they're 28 years old and they tell me, well, I feel though I'm too old, professor, to do my MBA. And then I say, sit down. I'm going to tell you a story. And then you can see the power of that story because I say, so do you still think you're too old? And so I think that for many regrets, unfortunately, time has passed us by, the opportunity has passed us, but so many regrets, we can still do something about them.